Name?
Yes, and welcome to
Good
another
evening.
session. This evening, we're going to be looking at three-person mechanics.
Don't you?
And I want to say this to you. We are not going to be covering two-man mechanics. The game has gone ahead so far to three-man mechanics. And I honestly believe that to use two-man mechanics at this time, it is not good for the growth of the sport of basketball. It is not fair to the players. It's not fair to the referees, because the game has gone ahead to three-person mechanics to allow for better coverage of the game. And when we are staying at two-man mechanics, it is causing two persons to now have to cover for three. And so, in my view, there are a lot of missed calls that go unanswered, which, to the frustration of the players, coaches, spectators, it is not in the best principle or growth of the game. That's my view. This evening, Mr. Norval Young and myself will be your facilitators for this module, this part of the module. And I'm just gonna ask you, please, if you can just mute your mics. House rules, if you have a question, we'll let you know when you can go ahead and ask, and you just unmute your mic and ask the question, or you can put your question in the chat. Without any further, we are going to go ahead and start with a video.
If you're next to the bench, you cannot sit normally. If you're behind you, we have to take care about it, but I'm sure that we can. Vámonos.
So in going ahead, I'm going to ask you at this stage, you know, just tell me one thing you've noticed from the video we just started with. One thing that you've noticed. Let's not all go at once. All right, well, I'm gonna push you this evening. We just looked at a video that was about 2 minutes, 53 seconds in length. Can you tell me just one thing you noticed, one thing you remember from the video?
Can I make an input?
Go ahead, Randy.
There was good interaction between the referees, coaches, and the players. You can be firm and fair during the game. It shows that you can be firm, fair during the games, and you can have interaction with the players, and it can be very positive and good for the game.
All right, so we had communication, good communication. Anything else?
Night.
Go ahead, Theron.
Right, Sharon Francis from Grenada here. In this video, you see the spirited reaction of the players and the referees and the teams. You saw that spirited reaction for the calls during the game.
Thank you. So let me ask you this, Theron. You saw referees also having to make signals.
Yes, it was clearly displayed.
Thanks. Anybody else?
If I may, good night, Leona from Guyana.
Go ahead, Leona.
Well, I noticed the good communication of the referees that they had with the players, you know. Even though the player may have been upset, the referee was able to deal with the situation, for want of a better word. And as well, I noticed based on from previous facilitators that we've had, they didn't run to the table to do the signal. They found an open space and they made and they showed the signal.
So here's where I'm getting. Leona, thank you very much. Here's where I'm getting. In those 2 minutes and 53 seconds, what we have covered in the last 2 modules up until now clearly took place in that 2 minutes and 50 seconds and 53-second video. Do you agree or you don't agree?
Agreed.
Very much so.
All right. So it's with that in mind that we are now to this point. We are now to this point of three-person mechanics. And I just wanted you to get a taste of the game going ahead. So all we would have covered now has become muscle memory. And now we are adding on to that. We're giving you more now that you need to add on to that. You need now to learn how three-person mechanics operate and how we can make it a part of our game. And with that said, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Norval Young.
Greetings everyone and good night. And again, welcome to module 3 of this CBC basketball training sessions. I'm happy that, and I do hope we do have a very interactive session as well. as we go through 3PO or 3 persons officiating. And as my learned friend rightly stated, the short clip basically depicts and demonstrates basically all that we've gone through so far, and even a part of what we're going to go through this evening and into tomorrow. So we will move right ahead. All right. So 3PO basic. We start with this one phrase. There's one game, 3 referees, but still only one officiating team. Can someone actually give me some sort of feedback as to what they think this statement means? Anyone?
Good night. Francis from Grenada.
Go ahead, Mr. Francis.
I think, well, this statement basically shows that although we have the 2 teams and the officials, that all the officials need to work together as one unit to officiate the game.
And why is that?
Someone else, do you think that is? Mr. Theon just said we've got 3 officials, but we've got to show that we're making, we are one team on the court, and the question is, why is that?
Kenneth from Suriname.
Go ahead.
The reason why, because we're officiating only one game, and as a team, we're officiating the same game. So we need to be as one.
Thank you, thank you. All right. Now, 3 officials are basically the best way to have a game officiated. Now, if it was not so, the NBA, WNBA, NCAA, FIBA, and all the top leagues in the world would not have used this system. Because I know we started with two-man officiating or 2-person officiating, but they realized, hey, 3PO is basically where it is at. So all the top leagues have now implemented or used this system. All right, so in modern basketball, the game is spread all over the court.
Mm-hmm.
Actions take place.
Norval, we're losing you there. Norval, we're losing you. We're losing you.
Hear me?
No, we're losing you intermittently.
Look like the internet. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Look like the internet service just choppy. Anyhow. So, yes, 3PO is a great tool to implement correct IoT principles and to provide more time to actually process the play analytically, start, middle, end of the play before making a decision. The analyses show that correct no calls are higher with 3PO, then 2PO. And first, illegal actions are called rather than reactions. These both actually decrease the number of calls and allow for a more dynamic game. So basically, all this is saying, 3PO has allowed for the game to be more dynamic. You're able to process plays better and be able to make more, I wouldn't say correct, but better calls during the game. Now, what do you think the key aspect of 3PO is? Anyone? Mr. Cunningham, what do you think the key successful principle of 3PO is? It's a word that has 5 letters in it.
I can think about unity or togetherness.
Only 5 letters. Only 5 letters. Not so much.
Okay, unity is what I can think of right now.
Anyone else have a? Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Chance. Any female official or coach or player? Anyone? All right.
I'm sorry, can you please repeat for me?
I was asking, in 3PO, there's one key word that basically is critical when, well, in determining how successful 3PO is. There's a 5-letter word that is key in ensuring the success of 3PO.
Okay, I'll give you some like
Is it tight?
Oh, is it space?
No. All right. The key to success, simple word. TRUST. Trust.
okay.
If we do not have that,
Okay.
if we do not have trust, then the statement about still only one officiating team goes out the window.
Can you mute your mics, please?
So basically, you must trust your partners. Only then can you concentrate on your primary area of coverage and not have to worry about what is going on in your partner's area. And that a lot of time that happens to us on the court. We don't trust our colleagues because we probably figure, hey, this guy go miss the play and tonight, and I ain't got to peek over here and peek over there, and we miss things in our primary by focusing on another primary because we don't have that trust. All right, but
Novel.
yes.
I want to interject here. If you remember when we covered individual officiating techniques, we spoke about your primary area of responsibility and your secondary area of responsibility. When we cover tonight now in the 3-person officiating, you will get to see that your individual officiating technique becomes a part now of a unit of that 3-person officiating team. So you have got to trust your partner to make the call, not try to do it by yourself. So in other words, you are able to concentrate on your primary area of responsibility, as well as you know what's happening in your secondary, but you're trusting your partner to make the call. Norval?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Ideally, all 3 referees should have 1 primary in 3PO, and there should be no need to referee any secondary, ideally. At the top level of officiating, 3PO is seamless teamwork, where or at the advanced level, covering a different part of the very same play. However, before progressing to an advanced level, it is important to have a solid knowledge and understanding of 3PO basics. All right, so we move on. So we just went through basically the introduction. So we're moving on to the next part. Now, in basically what it is we're going to cover, there are several terminology that will come into play as we go along. IoT, which you've done before, obvious play, primary coverage, dual coverage, secondary coverage, extended coverage, giving help, regular call, open angle, close angle, cross step, and cross step are key aspects of 3PO and also IoT. How many of you have heard the terminology RSBQ before? RSBQ basically is rhythm, speed, balance, quickness.
Yeah, I got stuck this now because I said unity, but it was, he called me out, right? But
Norval? Okay, so Norval, you're freezing a lot. So I'm gonna finish off this one for you. In terms of the RSBQ, we've got rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness. Just give me 1 minute. No. All right, so when we look at it, we've got rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness. And then we speak about the working area, the area where the referee normally operates most of his time in that position. So whether you're going to be at, and we'll have lead, center, or trail, where you are operating most of your time at that opposition, you call that your working area. Now, your action area is the area that may involve players with or without the ball. But that action area, something is happening there, and you've got knowledge of that, the various play situation. So an example of where without the ball, you might have a pick being set up, or you might have, say, the point guard is calling for the rest of the team to draw the remainder of the team out of the basket so you can get a one-on-one situation. So the action area could also be without that ball that a pick might be coming off those players that do not have the ball to set up for the point guard who now has the ball. So that is what we speak about when we speak about the action area. And then we some of the terminologies you see here, EOP, end of period, and EOG, end of game. Some of these would have come as part of your online tests. Now, in terms of ball side, and this refers to the position where the ball is. So the playing court is divided into an imaginary line right down the basket. So from one end of one basket, right down the middle of it, to the other end of the court, down the middle of the basket. And we will call the playing side, all right? The ball side. While on the opposite side, we have the opposite side, and this refers to the position or the side of the court away from the scorer's table. So you got table side, and then you've got the opposite side, and the opposite side is the furthest end from the table. Strong side, and this is the strong side refers to the side of the court where the lead and trail official operate. And you will have what is called the weak side where the center operates. So why would you feel that the side where the lead and trail operate is called the strong side? Come on, calling you out here.
Okay, because the Victor O'Gara from the Cayman Islands, because the ball is on that side.
All right, well, it tends to mean that there's more coverage. Yeah. So you've got the lead and trail official covering that side. So that is the stronger side of coverage, while the weak side, the center is covering it alone. So that's why you would tend to call it the weak side. It just means that the coverage by officials, you've got 3 officials. Strong side, the coverage of 2, while the weak side, you've got the coverage of just 1. Now close down. This is the position where the lead should move before actually a rotation. So I want you to remember this, because we're gonna have this, and you should be closing down. You should close down before you actually start a rotation when you are at lead. Now switch. When it comes to a switch it refers to a dead ball situation when calling a foul that necessitates officials having to switch positions. Okay, the official who calls the foul always moves to the opposite side after reporting the foul to the scorer's table. All right, I'm gonna ask you why you feel this is necessary. Where an official that has called a foul will move to the opposite side. Why do you think it is necessary for that? Or why do you think in the mechanics they have done this? Mr. Tony. All right. Again,
sorry. So that they will have more. So that they will have more coverage on the play, more eyes on that's happening at the moment. More coverage on the play, actually.
Not really. Anybody else care to have a try?
Yeah. I think it's because he wants to get away from being asked any questions after making that call.
Vote, I think you hang out with me too much. That is it exactly. What happens is you want to get that official that has just called a foul. You know what's going to be the next thing that's going to happen? A coach more than likely, or another player is going to want to know, so why that was a foul? They're going to want to engage that official. So to get the game started back quickly, the mechanics is set up that that official is moving away from the what you call the table side to the opposite side in most cases. All right? So this is why the switch is designed to send you to the opposite side after reporting a foul to the scores table. All right? So then you might see 1, 2, 3 player. This is a player situation where the lead, trail, and center covers part of the player. And when we go into that, there is when we go on to look at the court, there is a sweet spot on the court where all 3 officials tend to have a piece of a player. And this is a terminology, this 1, 2, 3 play is a terminology that you use where this is one of the few occasions when all 3 officials are covering a position or a particular part on the court. Norval, you back with us? All right, so this is just a visual.
Yeah, I'm back. Look at the internet chipped out on me a while ago.
Okay, so this is a visual here of this side, table side, and the opposite side, and so again we spoke about that imaginary line. If you look straight down the middle, you see a dotted line. That is the imaginary line you put that you have ball side or opposite side. And then you have, again, you see the strong side where you have the lead and trail official. And then the weak side where you have the center official covering that area of or space on the court on his or her own. Any questions so far?
Yes, one question.
Go ahead.
With the strong side and the opposite side changes regularly once the lead moves on the baseline, right?
Correct. Rotation, you have rotation. So when we go further into this presentation, you'll see where a rotation. So in that rotation, the lead on one end of the court will never change as lead unless a foul or something was called. But more than likely, because of the rotation by the lead, the center can become trail and the trail can become center.
Hey, hold it up.
All right? Now, a general principle is that you should have 2 referees on the ball side as much as possible, right? And you will have secondary coverage when necessary, right? Best angle for lead and trail to referee the play. Okay? Primary action, or the area we call it the bus station. This is where plays are happening, you're going through a play and something is going to happen. People are getting on, just like a bus, you get on and off the bus. So you get into the player and you get out of the player, and that's happening on the ball side, and this will be on ball side. Norval?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah. Any questions so far? If you look at the purple bubble just under the basket, that is what you will call an action area. What do you think you'll call it an action area? Boy, we quiet tonight. We quiet tonight.
Hi, Vivian Wall from the Cayman Islands.
Hello.
Is it
Okay.
because
Go ahead, Vivian.
that's where a lot of fouls happen?
Not only a lot of fouls, but you a lot of action happens there. A lot of you remember the whole principle of basketball is to score a basket. So to get to that basket, a lot of action happens there to get to that basket, and a lot of players generate through there, either a drive to the basket, jump shot, post up play. So it is an area where action is going to happen.
Along the keyway.
Correct.
All right. I'm a coach. I'm trying my best not to answer too much. I want to listen, but I have to come in sometime.
All right. So this is pre-game. So this is your position pre-game. So you've got the crew chief, and this is on opposite side. You've got the crew chief in the middle with umpire 1 to his left and umpire 2 to his right. And they're responsible for observing what's happening as the players warm up. So this is your position as it is, your start off position as it is when this is a pregame warm up stage of the game. Norval, you feel free to take whenever you're ready.
No problem. I'm ready when you're ready, you know.
Go ahead.
Are you sharing your screen or am I?
Yes.
All right. So you're gonna stop because I'm not seeing your screen.
You're not seeing my screen?
Uh-uh.
Oh, that's my fault. I thought my screen was showing. Okay. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I am.
Participants, are you seeing my screen? So this is your position. Yeah, this is your position. Table.
Yes, we are.
Right. This is your position opposite side where you've got the crew chief in the middle and umpire 1 and 2 observing the warm-up action as the players are warming up before the game actually starts. Go on in, Norval.
All right, next one. Next slide. Next. All right, so in this one slide, you see we have here where the crew chief stays while umpire 1 and umpire 2 does their warm-up sessions. Now, this is normally done once you get on the court between, you could say, the 15-minute mark and the 10-minute mark, where referees begin to warm up even after coming out of the locker room. So at least you get some court action while still observing the teams as they warm up. But here, as umpire 1, umpire 2, warming up while the referee stays. There should be at least one referee remaining, not all 3 referees warming up at the same time, because someone needs to be there to observe the teams. So if whenever one of you 2 finishes their warm up, then the referee will then go and do his or her warm up. And in this slide, this is basically the 3 standard positions during timeouts. As you see, one is at the free throw line on either side, and in the center of the court, opposite of the table and the team bench area.
Question. What do you think would determine which of these three positions that the three officials would occupy? What determines which position they would occupy of the three you see here?
I think depending on where the ball is, would restart.
All right, so Mr. Tony, you've got the floor. Mr. Tony.
Where the ball will restart after timeout resumes.
Anyone else? Anyone has a different opinion?
Well, at the jump ball, which team gets the ball to?
Mr. Tony is right on the mark. This is determined by where that ball will start or restart during the game. Mr. Young?
Yes, basically, it determines where the game will restart after the timeout. Now, why do you think, in looking at each of the standard positions, why do you think the R is always in the middle? Why can't the U1 be in the middle or the U2 be in the middle?
This is
Anyone?
There's a rough crowd tonight.
I think. Wait there.
All right, go ahead. Miss Leona, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Me or the other person?
The other person. Ryan, you can go ahead.
I think the U is the referee is standing in the middle because he would be the individual administering the throw-in.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Oh.
Victor King Island, he's the mediator.
All right. Miss Leona?
I was going to say the same thing that Ryan said.
Okay.
Because he's the crew chief, he's in charge, not necessarily the person that is administering the play or the throw-in, but he's in charge. Likewise, same thing goes for warm-up. So because he's in charge, he's the lead.
Let me ask this question, and I'm gonna tease you. Do you remember that you've got another set of officials to work with you? Where are they located?
The scorer's table.
All right. Anybody still staying with the original answer?
And I guess the referee would be the one interacting with the scorer's table as well, in case of any infraction or anything.
All right.
You're close. You're close.
I wasn't finished.
I think he
wasn't finished.
I think
I was saying that the other two, the umpires 1 and 2, remains to watch the various bench if you notice their position. While if need be, the referee would go over to the scorer's table.
All right.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
And anyone else got a point they want to put in?
Yeah.
All right, hold on, Ryan. Just a minute. Mr. Joseph, you have the floor.
Okay, I was saying that the referee is the person that communicates with the scores table. So he has to be in a position where he can see the scores table, that whenever they have to signal to him, he's going to actually see that signal.
Okay. What about umpires 1 and 2? What are they doing?
They actually are looking at the two teams. All right, so one on either side, but the referee actually focus on the scores table, the other officials.
All right. Mr. Ryan, you have the floor.
Mr. Joseph just said exactly what I was about to say.
All right. Mr. Young?
All right. Well, basically, no matter what, yes, the referee position in that part so that he can receive information from the scores table 1, and as well get any feedback or information from his umpire 1 or umpire 2 as well. And yes, they will take a glance over at the team benches, but they're not going to focus on the team bench areas during this time. All right. And one key thing also needs to be stated is that during the timeouts, do you think the referee should have the ball at their disposal or place the ball where it would be inbounded next, or where the play will restart?
They place the ball where the play would resume or restart.
Why is that?
Because sometimes, for me, I think it's because it's just to remind them where the last infraction happened. Because sometimes if we hold the ball in the hand, we would forget whose ball is next. Was it a free throw? Was it a pass in? You know. So I think that's why the ball should be placed where the play would resume.
Anybody has a different opinion to that?
I think it's basically to remind the players, not necessarily the officials, but more so the players where the ball would restart. Even though the players might see the referee at the various positions, depending on where the game would restart, but I think if they see the ball where the throw-in should happen, or if it's a free throw or whatever the case might be, I think they would get the game restarted quickly.
Question: Do you think referees forget as well?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes, they do.
Oh, yes.
Yes, they do. They do.
Well, from a coach's perspective, I look for where the ball is placed so I can run a play accordingly. So I know that the ball is placed where it will be inbounded next, or probably where it will be, what it will be doing. So as a coach, I look at that ball and then I decide what play I'm going to make.
All right, thank you. And that's basically what it is. You basically would leave the ball where the play will resume. So at least everyone is aware, okay, fine. It's going to be an inbound from the end line and we go to go. Or it could have been on the sideline, or could have been feature line extended, could have been center line opposite the scorer's table, whichever which place. But yes, it's there so that everyone is aware of where the game is to be resumed at the end of the timeout. All right. So question. Yes, this one. At 20 or so seconds to go in the timeout, basically U1 and U2 will leave the referee huddle or the position and take up a position basically outside of each team bench area. Why do you think that is necessary?
Is it to prevent the players and coaches from like running on the court? Because say, for instance, it's a close game and you win by like 1 point, you'd have a lot of like ruckus.
Well, not at this time yet, because this is just coming out of a timeout. So with 20 seconds to go in the timeout period, the referees, U1 and U2, will leave the positions and position in front of each team bench area. Now, this is for what reason? Can you say?
Mr. Kenneth, you want to help me out here? Come on, we can't. Miss Rochelle Kemp, you want to help me out here?
is this something, question, is this something we normally do at our local games or we don't? Because that might be one of the reasons why we are unsure of the answers that we are going to give.
It leads us back to ask this question. How many of us use 3-person officiating rather than 2-person?
Guyana does, well, it depends. Sometimes we use both, depends on the, but we would use the 2 persons for some school games, but the 3 persons for other tournaments. I think that the two, U1 and U2 are closest to the bench coming off of the timeouts is to encourage the players and the coaches. Look, you have so much time remaining. It's time to, let's get ready to go on the court. Come on, it's time for the game to restart. No delay, let's go. That's just my view.
Anyone else shares Miss Leona's view?
Vanessa, St. Lucia.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Similarly, in St. Lucia, because of our numbers or lack thereof, we try as much as possible to use 3-person, but we do end up using 2 still in some instances, but majority of the time we try with the 2. And the U1 and U2, I agree with the colleague who just spoke. They would position basically to try to get the players out of the timeout quickly, because you do have some coaches and players who tend to linger and they always have extras to say. So to get the game flowing and moving quickly, you would want to get them out. So I'm thinking that is, well, that's what we try to.
And that's basically correct, because especially now when tournaments or games are televised or recorded, it helps us speed up the game and not allow the game, as Vanessa said and Leona said, not to have the game lag.
Right.
Because you want the game to be activated, restarted at the end of the timeout. Timeouts are 60 seconds, not 65 seconds, not 70 seconds. Timeouts are 60 seconds. So basically you will position there to activate the teams, so at least the coaches know, hey, time to wrap up. We're about to restart. Let's get a show on the road. And at, you will say, the 50-second mark of the timeout, players should be basically coming out from the team bench area onto the court. So at least once that timeout period ends, the ball or the game can be restarted at that juncture.
Individual officiating techniques.
Okay. Next. Now this is basically, this slide is basically showing the positioning of the referees for the jump ball to basically start the game. U1 is closest to the scorer's table, U2 opposite, and referee opposite, ready to jump the ball.
So, question here. We're going to use home side as up court and the visitor side as down court. We have a jump ball situation. We have a jump ball. This is at the start of the game. I want someone to tell me where they think each official will end up. Using either at the start of your explanation, either up court or down court.
Which is up court?
Home.
That's basically to the, okay, let's put this, make it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Right, if the ball goes to the referee's right, that's going towards home. So right is home, left is visitor. So ball goes to the referee's right. Jump ball, ball legally tapped, ball goes to the referee's right. Where does each of those referee go to next?
U2 becomes the lead, the U1 becomes the center, and the referee becomes the trail if it goes to the right. If it goes to the left, then U1 becomes the lead. U2 becomes the center, and the referee becomes the trail.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Come on, if you think that it's another. Well,
that's basically correct.
Correct.
That's basically correct. All right. Now, question. What is the responsibility of U1 doing the jump ball? What is the responsibility of U1 during the jump ball situation to start the game?
To ensure the players are in the right position.
The responsibility of the U1 is to look if the ball is tapped on its highest position.
Clock.
And to start the clock when the ball is tapped. To give the signal that the clock has to be started.
Okay. Anyone else have an opinion on that? What is the responsibility of the U1 referee during a jump ball situation to start the game?
May I make an input?
To the table when to start the clock.
Okay, let's somebody go ahead.
All right, Kieran followed by Randy.
I was saying that is it for them to signal to the table when to start the clock?
Any other responsibilities? All right, we're going over to you, Randy.
The responsibility of the U1 is to make sure that the table is ready to go. When the table is ready to go, he would indicate to the referee that they're ready to start the game. He would extend his hand, all right, to let the table know when he chops his hand and to start the game. Secondly, his next responsibility is to make sure that the ball gets the highest peak before it's touched, right? And then he would cut it in. And if there's a violation, he would indicate. If there's someone steal the top, he would say, he would blow his whistle and indicate if it's going to the right or going to the left. It's going to team A or going to team B. Depends on who violates the top.
Thank you, Randy. And anyone else?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dan.
My English is not too good. My name is Dan Alex Dume, and I'm for 80. I think you want have to survey if the jump ball is doing badly and start the clock when the ball is legally touched.
All right, thank you, Dan. And Brother Randy, Dan, most persons who responded did give responsibilities of the U1. And the U1 responsibility is basically one, calling for a re-jump on a poor toss. So if the referee tossed the ball poorly, the U1 basically would call for a re-jump. Or if there's a jumper violation, as Mr. Conahan rightfully said, someone violated the jump ball situation where the ball never got to its highest point and he stole a tap. As well is to give in the timing signal to start the clock when the ball is legally tapped. So until the ball is legally tapped, he does not chop in that clock. So those are his basic responsibilities. And what are the responsibilities of you two? Because you two also have responsibilities. Anyone? No one knows the responsibility for you two? Besides the jumpers, are there any other players on the court?
The responsibility of the U2 is to focus on the other 8 players that they don't access the circle and they don't, how do you put it? They don't create any violations against each other or against the play.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else? No one else? All right, U2 responsibility is basically to observe the 8 non-jumpers for any possible violation or fouls, because a foul could take place during the jump or even before the jump. So U2's responsibility is to keep an eye or to observe all the 8 non-jumpers, while U1 is to basically responsible for the jump ball on if it's a poor toss or a jumper violation and chopping in the clock once the ball is legally tapped. Okay? So these next couple diagrams will basically show if the ball goes to the referee right, where each referee will go to next. And it states it here, U1 goes to lead, U2 goes to center, and the referee goes to trail if the ball goes to the referee's left.
And Mr. Young, while you're there, it's important to note that in the during the jump ball situation, the referee is going to be the last to move, not to get in the way of players and to allow the game to play. That referee, after that jump ball has been jumped, must what we call freeze. Stay where he is, trying not to get in the way of players. So allow the player to pass him or her and then rotate into the trail position. Do you understand what I'm saying? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes.
So yeah, once the ball is legally tapped and it goes to either direction, that referee needs to get to his position, whether lead or center, in a quick manner. In the event that there may be a play to the rim right away. So once the ball is legally tapped and it goes to either direction, U1 and U2 needs to ensure that they get to their positions quickly. Straight, sharp run to your position. All right? Let's go. And this just shows the opposite. Ball goes to the referee's right.
Left. So ball to his right, he drops back into trail. U2 becomes lead. U1 becomes center.
Next. This is basically what it is.
You want to go into two?
No. We won't touch
two tonight. Yeah, two's a long one. Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any questions for what we went through so far? Is anything unclear?
Remember now, this is just, the jump ball has just begun, and this is now the start of the game. This is where we have ended tonight. We had no start in the game.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kenneth.
Is the U1 also responsible for checking if the clock has started to run also, or the shot clock or the game clock, after they have to tap, they give the signal to tap in? Is the U1 also responsible for that, to check in the clock, the game clock?
Once U1 chops in the clock, basically ball legally tap, chops in the clock, his next responsibility is to get to his next position, whether U1 or U2. It will be very difficult for him to be looking at the clock and still looking at the players and still trying to get to his next position when the ball is legally tapped. So do you think that you would be able to do all of those in one go? Look at the clock, chop it in, watch the players, and still get to your position?
No, not at all. That's why I asked the question, because I had the experience at a local game here in Suriname.
Okay.
And it was said that it was asked who is responsible for checking the clock. That's why I'm asking it.
So my question to you would be this: which referee is last to move?
The referee is the last one to move, but if he's in a freeze position between all the 8 other players, it may be also difficult for him to check the clock.
Okay.
Do you remember in the individual officiating techniques, there is something that when it comes to the clock that you should be aware of? What is that? When looking at the clock, was the last, I gave it away, but there's something, the last two digits.
You have to check the last 2 digits.
All right. So there's nothing wrong with a glance. You remember, your periphery, and you might find yourself in a gym where there's one game clock that might be on the opposite side. Is that the situation that you find yourself with, Kenneth, as it relates to that particular scenario being placed on you, that you have to look at the clock?
Yes, but it was Well, the players who asked me the questions thought I as umpire one was supposed to be checking the clock. And that's why I asked the question, because I stated that I only have to tap in to start the clock, but not to watch the clock, because there's no possibility for the umpire one to do all those things at once.
All right. So when you remember that 5-person word, Mr. Young asked us to be aware of at the beginning. What was that? Trust, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Trust.
So you are aware of the clock, but you do not look at the clock. Am I making myself clear, or does it sound confusing? In other words,
it's not confusing. I understand. It's clear to me.
Right. Okay.
I have to trust the officials, the scores table, that they start the clock at my tap in as the umpire one tap in. So I have to trust them.
But at the same time, you are aware that the clock is moving. So in other words, you know that the clock is moving, okay, and you're trying to get into a position to watch, to see the play as it is happening. So it is not to look at the clock, but be aware of the clock. Randy, you agree with me?
Yes, 100%. I always believe in my philosophy has really been this: if I am chopping in the clock, if I'm bringing in the ball, when I chop the clock for them, the ball is touched by a player on the court. When I chop in, I just take a quick little glance to look and move. I start to move, but I'm making sure that clock starts, because I don't want to go 10, 15 seconds and that clock don't start and the game playing.
Correct.
Right? So you want to just make sure that it's moving. All right.
Okay. So we understand that we are aware of the clock, but we are not staring at the clock, because, like Mr. Young said, that is one of your responsibilities, but it's not one of your key responsibilities. You have got now 10 players heading for one end of the court, running behind one ball. So remember, now you've got, this is one time in the game where basically you have got just 2 officials observing what's happening, because you've got that crew chief who is now in what we call freeze position, waiting for all that traffic to move from around him. Mr. Young, you agree or you don't? Call me out.
I agree with that. I can find myself.
I agree. Fully agree. And it's basically correct. Yeah, once you chop that clock in on your move, yes, you take a glance, but you don't stay focused on the clock, because you don't want to miss a critical play or situation during that first play, because hey, there are situations where on a jump, a team goes straight to the rim for a dunk, and you don't want to have a situation where you took your eye off the play and
watching
the clock, and something may happen that you weren't able to see, and no call was made, and you never know. So it's always good to be aware, but just not to focus on it at that time. Question.
Any other questions?
Mr. Young.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, John.
This is Mr. Major from the Bahamas.
Yes, sir.
I know that as officials, we tend to do our scouting on teams while you're in the tournament, so that you know how to officiate teams. is it good for you to also to scout those who are on the clock or table, also to give you an idea of who you work with so that you can be more vigilant of what's going on?
Are you referring to the table officials?
Yes, sir.
No.
No.
Because, well, okay, let me put it this way. At tournaments, when you talk about high-level tournaments, the table officials are professionals. That is what they basically do. They are professional table officials. They go through the same training that we do.
They are required to be licensed as well?
They're required to be certified as well. So on any given time, if you are called to be a table official for any tournament or any game, the referees basically, we referees trust the table officials as well because they are a part of the team, and that keyword, trust. They trust us and we trust them because at the end of the day, we are one. We are one unit, one team. They are our extended arm. So whatever information we give them and they give us back, it should be in
harmony,
in unison.
Yeah.
And
remember.
So in terms of scouting table officials, no.
Okay. I think I probably use the word scouting of table officials. I mean, as in being aware of, let's say, if that clock person that is going to be in your game, you notice she made a boo-boo in a previous game that you may have watched. So what I'm asking, do I pay more attention to her, or at the beginning of the game, before the game starts, and I'll to alert her alert him to make sure that clock person is on their game?
Mr. Major, let me ask you this. Do you guys use commissioner or technical delegate in your leagues?
In certain islands, they're available, but not in all islands.
Okay. So, all right, even if you don't have a commissioner or technical delegate at the table, your two important rules there are that the clock, the clock operator and the scorer. Agree?
I understand. I'm only asking in preparation of your game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it has to be done. I'm saying, is that a good tendency to do so?
No, because I'm going to tell you, as an official, when you try to take on too much, you're going to miss your job.
Okay.
What you should be looking at. So sometimes it is hard, but you have got to trust. You've got to develop that trust. Like Mr. Young said, you've got to develop that trust of the table official, even if it lends to having to actively encourage that table official to pay more attention. You don't want to embarrass someone openly, but you can nip over to the table sometime and say, help me here. We're stepping back. I see Kevin has his hand raised. I'm going to allow Kevin to come in at this time.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to add to what he is saying. I believe that I understand, the point that is being made, but I just wanted to agree with you on the point that you're making, is that in a situation like that, and I'm sure all of us may have encountered that before, you as the referee just have to be a little bit more vigilant. And I think we use the right word to encourage. So let's say you realize that there is a delay, in starting the clock, or, there is, when the clock is to reset, it didn't happen, or you could realize some errors. Then I think the best thing to do is on a timeout, or, the first opportunity you get is to, have that conversation, and always, from a positive point of view, so that, you know, we could establish the, you know, that synchronized team effort that you're looking for. So your job as the referee becomes a lot more easier. But I think, you know, I'm choosing the right word. I think we did this in a module earlier in terms of how we communicate.
Correct.
And so, you know, if we do that, then I believe, because sometimes you do end up with inexperienced clock officials, and it can really work you hard as a referee. So I do feel his pain. But I think if we can work together to encourage, then we'll get better results.
And let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you this, Kevin. What's the difference between a novice referee and an experienced referee?
That's a good one. I believe the for me, it's one word: communication.
Well,
you know, because that's the word there. Because see, for example, you know, you step on the court, and I'll give a situation like this. You know, if you're an experienced referee and you're working with a novice referee, and you realize that he may have made a bad call. If he makes a bad call and he looks up at me, I am going to signal for us to meet together just to discuss it. And quickly I'm going to give the advice right there and say, go ahead. And you understand, that's the difference, which again comes back to communication.
Okay, where I was going with this is that we start off as novice referees at some point, but having to referee or officiate the games more and more, that's where we gain our experience. And this is where I'm coming from. Whether you are a 2-day-old referee or a 76-year veteran referee, get where I'm coming from. You have got to do one thing that Mr. Young started this evening off on. You have got to trust that referee or that official to make the calls in his or her area. Either you're going to end up trying to take over the game, it's going to become a you show or me show, and you're not going to be trusting your partner to make the call. And that's the difference, is encouraging that referee or that inexperienced referee to just make the calls in his or her area. Concentrate in the area that you are to concentrate in and allow for them. You have to encourage them. If you try to officiate into your secondary, and Mr. Young covered it tonight, there will be no need for you to officiate your secondary. You will trust your partner by staying in your primary. So your partner can't get the experience to make a call if you are officiating in his or her area. That's what I want to go with that. Mr. Young?
Rightfully so. And in turn, they themselves won't trust you as well, because they're gonna say, hey, this guy want to referee all over the place and he want to referee by himself, and might as well I stop blowing now since he wants to referee in my primary. And it has happened to us during our careers and our referees, but most of us who've refereed for at least more than 5 years, where situations like that have happened during the game, where referees start to blow all over the place, and eventually his other colleagues stop blowing or stop making the calls that they're supposed to make, and then it just creates a dysfunctional game.
Because there's no trust.
Because there's no trust. But with what we are going through is basically this: once you are able to officiate or referee within your primary, and you're able to trust your partners or your teammates, and basically everything should be able to go smoothly.
All right. Last question for the night, and then we're going to sign off until tomorrow evening.
I have one quick question. Can the U1 or U2 inbound the ball to start periods 2, 3, or 4, or even extra overtime?
Don't answer it this evening. If someone doesn't answer, don't
type
They
it.
say no, the crew chief will always be administering the official.
Crew chief.
It's written at the bottom of the screen.
Yes, I know. Nice one, nice one.
If the answer is there.
Ian gave away the answer. But yes, the crew chief will always be the one to administer official for the throw-in, opposite to start the periods. And U1 and U2 place themselves in either L or C.
How was it?
So tomorrow we are going to go.
Did you get the thick slices?
Tomorrow we are going to go through the second part. So let's try and be on time so we can have an on-time start, so we can get more interaction as we go along.
Thank you.
So I do thank everyone for participating this evening, and we look forward to seeing you or hearing you tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Good presentation, Mr. Yearwood. Thank you also.
Hey, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Good night, everyone. Thank